What's going on, Lakers fans, and welcome into episode 40 of the LakeShow Flow. I am your host, Gio. As the Lakers win their third game in a row, their ninth straight game at home, and they reclaim the third seed in the Western Conference, beating the Nuggets 120-108. Before I get started talking about tonight's game, I just want to say, if you're new here or you've been here, please support the channel, leave a like on the video, leave me a comment, subscribe if you are new, and just show your support. Share it with your friends. Tell somebody. But as I said, the Lakers get a huge win against the Nuggets. And going into this game, it was set to be one of those primetime, exciting matchups. We didn't really hear about the possibility of Jamal Murray and Jokic sitting out until about an hour before the game. And it was kind of disappointing. I mean, obviously, them winning was on the table with those two in, the Nuggets winning. So that was obviously something to be a little weary about, because the Lakers do have a history of allowing, Jokic to go off. Jamal Murray's usually the clutchest player against the Lakers. He has I don't know what it is. He just elevates his clutch gene to a whole nother level when he plays against the Lakers. So there was always that possibility that the Lakers lose if those two play, but you also want to play the best and you want to beat the best. You want to see where your team stacks up against this, boogeyman of the past. You know what I mean? They were the kukui for a while. And so they looked more vulnerable the last few games, even the last one where the Lakers played them with Austin Reeves and pretty much all of our role players. And the Lakers made it close. They only lost the game by a few points. So you wanted to see what they could do against the full, at least having Luka healthy. It's not full strength because we still don't have LeBron. We still don't have Rui. But this game, I think, says more about the Lakers being able to beat this team going forward. Because, they didn't have Jokic. They didn't have Murray. But the Lakers looked a lot more dominant when they didn't have their two stars versus when the Lakers played them and didn't have their two stars. The last time the Lakers played them was in Denver, and the best player on the court for the Lakers was Austin Reeves, and he almost willed them to victory. We talked about that game a few episodes ago, and it was one of those games you can actually take something from. You could actually be a little confident going forward. It was one of the ones where there's no moral victories, but there's a moral loss. That's what I heard somebody say. I forgot what show I was watching, but someone commented and said, there's not really moral victories, but I could say there's a moral loss. You can learn something from a loss. So going into this game, like I said, I was excited and a little disappointed that the Stars didn't play, but I was like, okay, well, they got to beat the Nuggets now. And for seeding purposes, this was huge because, like I said, the Lakers retake the third seed and the second seed's right there. The Rockets have won, I think, 7 in a row. So you kind of have to catch them. You have to keep winning. Tomorrow's game is going to be very important to continue to hold on to the seeding. I'm kind of wondering, this was the reverse of what usually happens with injuries. Usually players rest and then they play the Lakers, right? That's what I was expecting. I even talked about it and I even laughed about it in the last episode. Jokic and Murray, they didn't play against the Warriors. They still beat the Warriors, right? The Nuggets did. So I was expecting, okay, so they do that. They get lucky. They beat the Warriors still. But all just to be ready to go against the Lakers. And for some reason, they just didn't play. And so I'm just wondering, I'm not worried because it's not my team. But there's some concern there. If I was a Nuggets fan, I'd be pretty concerned because why aren't they playing? I don't understand. I know maybe they have some lingering injuries. I think everybody does. But especially a game like this, it's kind of weird that they didn't play, but not my problem, not my team. So it was just something to be curious about. But this game started off, Luka Doncic was literally just dismantling the defense of the Nuggets, and he was just on a mission. I heard somebody before the game say, Luka drops 50 tonight. And honestly, if he would have played all 4 quarters in a more competitive atmosphere, this man could have dropped 50. He had 21 points in the first quarter alone, and he also becomes the only Laker in franchise history. It seems like he's always setting records, but he made some more history today, becoming the only Laker ever to have a quarter with this exact stat line: 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. That's crazy. Because you think about all the stars the Lakers have had. We've been known to have, some of the best players ever. And somehow Luka makes his way into the history books. And I believe I saw another stat. I don't know, don't quote me verbatim on this, but Luka is the fastest player in Laker history to hit 53s. Like, I don't know if it was exactly 50 or 50 something, but either way, that's a lot of threes. And yeah, so I mean, like I said, Luka came out on fire. He was scorching hot from the 3-point line, from everything. He was just doing anything he wants to the Nuggets defense, and they couldn't really keep up. They didn't have Jokic, they didn't have Murray. I mean, I keep driving that point home, but it was just nice to not see the Lakers kind of coast to this one, because when you see on paper, okay, we don't have Jokic or Murray to play against, you could get a little complacent. You could, like the way they did against the Nets, the way they did against the Hornets, the way they did against the Jazz, right? So it was just good to see that they didn't take this for granted. They knew, like, okay, we could easily lose this game based on the energy that Denver can play with, because Mike Malone, he was still motivated to try to get the win. He was coaching his team up until the last seconds of the game. Like, he hates the Lakers. He's made that very clear. But the beautiful thing about this matchup now is it's so different compared to when we had Anthony Davis. And this isn't a slight to Anthony Davis, but the way Luka has dominated the Nuggets, whenever the 2 games that he's played in against them for our team, and yes, they were shorthanded in this one, but the ass beating they gave them in Denver with Luka, his first game as a Laker against the Nuggets, he performed great. He owned them. That was like his first, coming out party as a Laker against this same team. So before, it seemed like Denver was taking pride in owning the duo of not only LeBron but also AD, right? But now we have Luka, and it changes the entire atmosphere of the matchup. Like, as a Laker fan, you just feel a different type of confidence against this team. And don't get me wrong, the team is different. That's the point. Like, we're way different, and so are they. But you place Luka, who beat them in the playoffs before, beat them in key matchups before, you place him on the team instead of AD in those other years, and who knows? Because there's just something different. It makes the defense have to play different. He steps up in these big matchups. It seems like he really gets up for these teams that he knows are like the best of the best. And he came out hot, like I said, and he pretty much set the tone. The Lakers pretty much led the entire game. There was some scary moments. They came out a little flat in the second. They went crazy in the first quarter. I think they had like 46. And then the second quarter, I think they didn't even hit 30. So they did kind of slow down. And well into the third as well, the Nuggets, I think, got closer by the fourth quarter. I think they cut it down to maybe 8. But a shout out to JJ Redick. He was stubborn, and he kept Luka Doncic on the bench because he knew, like, if he has any chance of playing tomorrow, it's going to be the longer he can sit while that game was still happening, the better his chances are of playing tomorrow against the Bucks. And not only playing, because I feel like Luka would play anyways, but the higher odds that he's effective in that game, because we've seen Luka come out a little tired in the back-to-backs where Austin has to try to carry the load, and maybe Luka almost has a triple-double, but it's not enough to put us over the top. So for us to have the best version of Luka, that's key here. So shout out to JJ. The game got a little close for a little bit, but he did not budge. He called a few timeouts down the stretch, but he didn't throw Luka back in. Reeves played a little bit of extended minutes, but he's more like someone you're okay with that. He's been like an Iron Man for the Lakers. He's missed some games here and there, but for the most part, Reeves is always playing. But like I said, I mean, it's encouraging to see the way Luka played today. He got up for this matchup. I feel like they would have won even with Jokic and Murray playing. And shout out to Austin Reeves. His last 4 games, I had to screenshot this. He's had a game with 28 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 37, 8, and 13, 28, 4, and 6, 37, and 6, and then tonight, 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists. So Austin Reeves has been stepping up and basically being like the replacement to LeBron James. Not directly, obviously. I mean, LeBron's a different beast, but for him to literally like play up to par, and he's done this his entire career, it seems like. When AD would miss games, when LeBron would miss games, he's always stepped up into either a number 2 role or a number 1, and he could pretty much fill whatever role is needed for him on that given day. So I just have to shout out Reeves, because to me, this team isn't what it is right now without Austin Reeves. Because once LeBron comes back, right? Once Rui comes back, it's going to be the most annoying task for the defenses in the playoffs to have to cover, because right now they can kind of whittle it down. They can kind of blitz Luka, but then you got to deal with, Dorian Finney-Smith, like a 40% three-point shooter at his best. Gabe Vincent's been shooting better. Austin Reeves. Then you throw Rui in there and LeBron, who are like over 40% from the threes. I mean, it's going to be insane. The offense should be operating at a crazy level. This gives Luka some reps, and I've said this before, but it gives Luka some reps to be the focal point, to find his rhythm, to be comfortable leading the offense. And honestly, it could end up being a blessing in disguise that LeBron did go down, not only for his sake in terms of him getting fully healthy right before the playoff push and then into the playoffs, because we see what happens when LeBron gets a big extended rest. The last time that happened, it was during the All-Star break, and then he didn't end up playing the All-Star game. So coming out of that, he just went crazy. He ended up getting the Player of the Month award. So to me, I think it's a blessing for him to get his legs 100%. Obviously he had the groin strain, but also for Luka to continue to say, okay, this is my team, because LeBron, he defers to Luka. And I even saw a post today from a LeBron fan, and it's true. He said the way that Reeves, if Reeves and Luka are going to play to this level, LeBron could extend his career as many years as he wants, because he could basically relegate himself to almost a third option, which is just crazy. I don't know if he'll ever do that. like I don't know, maybe pride-wise, maybe ego, but he could do that. If he really wanted to take a full 2 steps back rather than just one and being the number 2, he could be the number 3 option here and let Reeves and Luka basically be the 1 and 2, because they showed that they could do that. And then LeBron could basically take over games whenever he wants. So it was an interesting thing to think about. But like I said, this game had standing implications. It allows the Lakers to have the tiebreaker. So if Denver and LA are, tied for second place, it's not a tie because the Lakers end up winning that. Or if it is, technically a tie, it's not really, because the Lakers have the tiebreaker. So that was huge. That's why I was surprised that Jokic and Murray sat out. They must be legit, hurt. And like I said, I mean, to get a win like this and to show that, yeah, they didn't have their guys, but we looked better against them without our guys, without LeBron, without Luka, without Rui, without Jackson, I think, as well in that game. So, and then we basically showed them, hey, you guys aren't the boogeyman. You guys aren't a scary team anymore. And I think a lot of teams are realizing that. They've had weird losses this year. They've lost to the Wizards. Who would have thought they would lose to the Wizards? You know what I mean? And so, like I said, going forward, momentum. Luka's looking great. It looks like he gets up for these big games. His shot is looking a lot more smooth. He could have had a 40-plus to 50-point game today. And then Austin Reeves still performing. And I heard another nickname besides the Snow Time one that I heard for the 3 white boys. Now they're calling them Tres Leches. I don't know. I don't know how Twitter is just a different place. I talked about the beef I've had on there before, but as far as just humor, as far as just, nicknames and stuff, I don't know how they do it or, who comes up with this stuff, but it's hilarious. So we basically got 3 different kinds of milk out there just going crazy. But like I said, this game, it was just so easy to watch for once against the Nuggets. There wasn't anxiety attached to it. I was able to just sit back. And my brother, he wanted, I forgot what he was asking me. He was saying, do you want to just game or something or watch something out? He was asking me, and I'm like, no. This is the first time that I get to sit back and watch the Nuggets actually not look scary. You know what I mean? I get to watch the Lakers just dominate. And like I said, it was an easy watch. They do have a tough opponent tomorrow. I would never sleep on the Bucks, especially with the Lakers coming off a back-to-back. And we'll see how that game goes. The last time they played them, it was Reeves and Luka were healthy, but Jackson Hayes wasn't. So, I mean, this game, it served a purpose. I feel like players really shined in their role and kept that momentum and showed that they could play better at home. Dorian Finney-Smith continues to score in the double digits. Even Vando got 10 points. And even Gabe Vincent shot well. And Dalton Connect, he keeps his streak of just, I think he's had 10 points in the last 3 or 4 games. So he's still looking good. Jordan Goodwin, he didn't shoot the 3 too good, but he's still a factor out there, especially at home. So it's just good to see the role players stepping up, because tomorrow it's gonna be tough. Giannis is a different beast. So hopefully Jackson Hayes being healthy can make a difference. I know Luka's gonna probably come out hot again. I mean, he had a whole quarter off today. So hopefully that just keeps his legs fresh. He even had a fresh cut. So he's feeling himself right now. And I feel like when he's cooking, everybody else is eating, right? And either the players on the court, Lakers fans, we're all eating good, we're all sleeping good, right? So let Luka cook. Hopefully he does do good tomorrow, and hopefully the Lakers get double revenge, because this back-to-back happened in reverse last week. First they played the Bucks, it was a loss. Then they played the Nuggets, and it was a loss. So now if we could flip that 100%, it keeps not only the second seed alive, but it also keeps the Lakers feeling that momentum. It'll be their 4th win in a row if they can get it done. And then hopefully by the weekend, we get at least Rui back, and by next week, we get LeBron. But if we're really lucky, then we get Rui and LeBron back at the same time, which could just really inject some new life, take some pressure off Luka, take some pressure off Reeves, and just have our team back and where it needs to be, because the playoffs are coming up. Before you know it, it's going to be the first round of the playoffs, and you want the Lakers to continue to aim for that second seed, because now it's as realistic as it's been. And if they get it, they're on the opposite side of OKC. They have home court advantage over every team except for OKC, and then depending who they play in the finals. So it's a big stretch right now, and I think the Lakers, they came out ready to go, and we'll see how it all plays out. But as I always say, if you're new here or you've been here, please show some support on the channel. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. But that's going to do it for the Lake Show Flow, and we'll see you guys next time.